Here we are at Northwind Stable. This is our horse boarding facility, or we like to call it our horse ranch.
That's right.
And I think we have around 33 horses right now, something like that. But the reason we wanted to be here today is because we have something really cool that we're doing. Yes.
What are we doing that's so cool? Are we talking about the Airbnb?
We is.
We are talking about the Airbnb. So, we have he calls it a 4-bedroom house. I call it a 6-bedroom house because that sounds way more impressive.
Yeah, but I'd rather be more accurate than impressive.
Well, it depends on how you want to use the rooms. So, anyway, very large, 3,000 square foot farmhouse that I had renovated about 2 years ago. It was a rental unit for a while, and then we had a Ukrainian refugee family live here for a little bit, and now it's ready to be rented again. However, as you probably saw in the last video, we're finding renters to be an issue.
So, my daughter came up with this brainstorm of an idea. Dad, it would be great if we went an Airbnb. And I'm thinking, well, first off, we're gonna have different people.
Do I talk like that? Dad, it'd be great if we have an Airbnb.
So, well, that's what I heard. That's not what that's not how you said it, but that's
just
how
clarifying.
I took it. And so it's like, that means we'll have different people living in here, like each week or every other day or whatever.
Yeah.
And it means we also need to furnish and stage the entire house. Oh. This is like a huge house, and I'm old. I'm getting tired. I don't want another project. I want to finish the ones we already have started. We have a gazillion projects started between Heat for Less and the ranch and the barn house and the stables. It's like,
you forgot my business, the Gilbertsville Farm.
I know, we have so many things going on. Let's finish something first, but no, not my daughter. Got to open another can of something there. So here we go. So I'm sort of burned out right now. My plate is full, but she says, I can do it. I can do it for how much?
What do you mean, how much?
How much will it cost me for you to get this house ready for an Airbnb?
I think I can do this whole house for almost nothing.
Now that would be using furniture, some furniture that we already have.
Yeah, so okay. I have furniture I'm not using because currently we sold our house and we're in a 2-bedroom apartment. So there is furniture that I own that we're not using. And then your house that you live in have extra bedrooms. So we're just gonna move furniture from your house here that we're not using.
So we have like 3 spare bedrooms at my house. So we're gonna take the bedroom stuff out of 2 of them and bring them here. And we already have 1 bedroom already furnished.
Yep.
So that would be 3 bedrooms furnished.
That's right. 3 bedrooms, and then we'll do an office space and...
An office? Like one of the bedrooms will become an office?
Or a playroom. I thought it'd be really cool to grab some extra toys that my kids no longer play with. That way, if families come with children, they have toys and they don't need to bring toys.
I think it's better than an office, because if I'm going on vacation, I don't really want to work in the office.
That's the difference between you and me. Yeah. I just got back from a trip.
Yeah.
And every place we stayed had like a desk or an office, and it took everything within me to not sit there and work. Like I wanted to sit there and brainstorm or sketch something or write a book, but I didn't.
Good.
I was on vacation. This property I felt would be a great Airbnb.
It would be.
Because there's views of horses from every window. What are you laughing at me?
But your mom does not think this would be a good idea.
Actually, I talked to her on the phone this morning. She was all about it.
She changed her mind?
Oh, she was like, you know, I was thinking last night, I just couldn't turn my brain off. I had to pray and ask God to help me turn my brain off because I was just thinking about this Airbnb and yeah.
But what happened?
I don't know.
Wow. My lovely bride didn't want me to buy this horse farm in the first place.
I don't blame her.
And she was like negative towards it all along.
Yeah, because you just bought a previous farm. Like, how many farms do you need to buy?
I'm not sure yet.
Anyway, Mom didn't want it.
Well, I'm glad to hear she's on board.
She is.
My wife is happy about the horse farm now.
Well,
I didn't know that.
I know. Well, when I hung up the phone with her,
Yeah.
I was thinking about this.
Yeah.
You told me that Mom really wanted to do a bed and breakfast.
She did.
And this is like a little spin-off, but it's the hospitality industry, which is something she's really good at. So I think we should dive into our past week.
Do it.
Because I was away. I was in Texas and then drove all the way back with my husband.
Louisiana, Tennessee. You stopped at a couple places along the way.
Mississippi. Yeah.
This is your story. Go ahead.
Well, I want to hear your story too. So the cool thing is, y'all get to experience us sharing our past 10 days with each other for the first time. I didn't really give many details about my trip to him.
That's right.
And he didn't give me details of his time being solo running the businesses without me. So this is an insider look on like real reactions.
We wanted to be spontaneous. We didn't want it to be scripted and phony, and so
phony. I do have some notes on my phone, so I don't forget.
Okay, go for it.
Phony.
You go. Your trip.
All right.
How was your trip?
So my trip, it was supposed to be a 10-year wedding anniversary celebration.
It wasn't? What do you mean it's supposed to be?
So on the way there, Sam and I were going back and forth. He shared his feelings about how, because we were going to
Magnolia?
Yeah, like Magnolia Silos. I was hoping for a connection to be made there. On the way home, we're driving through Louisiana, which happens to be where Duck Dynasty has their big warehouse that you can tour. Again, I was hoping for a connection there. So in the back of my mind, I kind of had other motives.
A working honeymoon.
Honeymoon?
Oh, no, honeymoon.
We were on a honeymoon 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So we were trying, I was trying to kind of like turn off the work side of things.
Right.
So it worked, it was okay. It was great. Like we had this open communication about it, and like I had to learn to slow down. I'm the kind of person who likes to go, 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 and Sam likes to be slow and relax, which is a good thing. Like we do balance each other out, but there's just we have to have a lot of conversations because we're so different in those areas. I'm gonna start off by the second day there. Second day we were there, all of Waco was shut down for day number 2. And Sam had never been to the silos before. I have once before. So he's like, why don't we just get in the car and we're just gonna go. We're gonna just look from the outside in. So we got in the car, drove, walked around the outside of the silos. They have everything completely gated off, but it was kind of cool because you could actually see what they had to offer. Last time I was there, I was with you, and they were getting ready for their biggest event out of the whole year.
Right.
So there were people everywhere. You couldn't even see product on the shelf. You were just bumping into people everywhere. So that was really cool. The next day we went to the silos and we went shopping and really got to experience the silos. So we had our little shopping day. We ate at the restaurant. So cool. It was awesome. The last day we were there, we paid for a private tour of the silos. And the silos, it's not like private where we were the only ones there, but there were about 10 of us.
Okay.
So when we got there, I noticed there were 2 different like people that work for Magnolia checking people in. And I noticed there were about 20 to 25 of us that day. And online, there were only a slot for 10 spots. So I was a little like, I wonder what's going on. I knew that Magnolia had shut down because of the ice. So I'm like, maybe they're just, you know, like adding an extra tour, and that's what happened. So they had 2 tours going on at the same time.
Okay.
So our tour guide was starting to talk, and he said, if you have any questions at all, like ask. We don't want there to be any questions at the end of this tour. It's best for you, best for me if there's no questions. So I'm like, okay. So I just like blurted out. I'm like, where's Magnolia Network? Because I can't find the address.
Yeah.
Like I've found people and made connections on LinkedIn, but I couldn't find where their address was to send any material. They're like a mystery to me. So he's like, oh, and he points down there. He's like 2 blocks down there, you know, that direction. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Yeah. And so we keep walking and talking, and he like briefly made a comment. He's like, yeah, I've never given a tour before. So we finished up the tour in their church. They moved an old church to their property and redid it. It's gorgeous. I mean, it's awesome. So it was heated. So we sat in there and we talked with him, asked questions. And he shares that he is, I don't know, I might get the title wrong, but he is like pretty much the manager of the entire marketing and branding of Magnolia.
Cool.
So I'm like, Sam, did you catch that? You know, and he's sitting there and he's like, oh no, like he really supports me in my drive to, you know, do business or to film the show. But at the same time, his personality, he's like really quiet and like, I could tell he was a little like, okay, like, yeah, he's a big guy there at Magnolia. So it was over and I was like, Sam, I want to go talk to him. I want to give him a brochure. I want to like, just let them know we want to do a show with Magnolia. We really love who they are as a brand and a company and what they stand for. And I'm like, this is probably the opportunity I was praying for this trip. And so he's like, okay, you go. But he was just sitting there like this. And like with his body language, I was like torn. Like I didn't want to overstep our anniversary trip by like mixing work, but at the same time there's that opportunity. And I like paused as he was like walking out the door, and this lady saw me looking that way and she goes, oh, do you want your picture taken? And I was like, no thanks, I'm good. And then she hands me her camera. Can you take our picture? And I was like, sure. So he escaped, and I was like, really? Like this was my chance. And then I took their pictures, and Sam and I went back to the couch to look at the couch again, and you know, I was just like, so we talked it out, and he was mad at me because I didn't go for it, but then I was mad at him because I was like, I'm trying to respect you, like, you know, it was fine, we worked it out, just typical marriage stuff. But so we left the store. So we're walking back, and I said to Sam, I'm like, you know, if I see him, I'm gonna talk to him. Like after we talked about it, it was just like, if God gives me that chance, again, I'm going to talk to him. Right. And as soon as I turned my head, he's walking right towards me.
Look at that.
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
Right?
That's cool.
So I was like, oh my goodness. And then just like fear, like overcame me. And I'm like, what? And I knew this was going to happen before I even left for the trip. I'm like, if I get a chance to talk to somebody important,
I knew the feeling.
I'm going to get nervous. Why? And I was like, Lord, please don't let me get nervous. They're just a person. I'm just a person.
That's right.
And people look at you. People look at me like we're like the biggest thing in the world in our little community, right? People really respect us. And they get nervous talking to us. And I'm like, I'm just a normal person. Let me pull my notes out because I didn't want to forget anything that we talked about. People, he said, there's a lot of people trying to do what you're trying to do and get on their network. So he started asking me questions, and I didn't realize it at the time, but he was interviewing me pretty much. Which, of course, when I started talking, I was like really nervous and my voice was shaky. I'm like, Rachel, what is your problem?
Yep, I've been there.
So, but Sam, he was helping me. He was very, you know, like when I left out a detail, he filled it in. Like I was sharing, you know, my dad and I run 3 businesses together, and we want to do a TV show. We love Magnolia and just like who they are as a brand, and we want to be on that channel. You know, our show is going to be family friendly and modest and just something that like the whole family can sit down and enjoy together. But I totally left out that we have a pilot episode already. Sam was like, you filmed a pilot episode, remember? Like, so that was helpful to have him there for sure. The biggest question that stuck out in my mind that he asked was, like I had mentioned, in our area, we're growing in publicity. Like people know who we are, we're branding ourselves. And he said, when people want to watch your show, are they watching because of what you're doing, like your businesses, or are they watching for you, like because they like you? And I said, you know, what we're doing is unique. I mean, there's no corn maze show out there, but I really think it's just us. Like they really like us and our interaction. And he's like, you've got a lot going for you. Well, I had shared with him that I had spoken with somebody from Magnolia Network, and they watched the pilot episode and really liked it. And they said that they currently were only looking for like a renovation show or a cooking show. And he's like, so he liked it. I said, yeah. And he's like, who was it? So I pulled out my list of producers and all that. So I told him who it was. He's like, he was impressed. He was like, wow. He's like, you are farther than a lot of other people. He's like, that's amazing that you even talk to somebody.
Wow.
So I was like, wow, go us. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, that
it
is
made
cool.
me, I mean, because I shared with him, like, I am doing this from nothing. I have zero experience in the film industry.
Right.
I didn't have any connections.
Right.
So that was cool to hear. That
I
was
can't believe you
cool.
kept that from me.
It was very difficult.
It's been a couple of days since you've been home.
It was
So did this person, did he say that he would watch the pilot episode? He didn't. Did he give us give you any direction as to helpful information? This is what you should do next, or?
Growing your following is the biggest thing, and that's what we've been told now by so many people. Yeah. So just filming these episodes every week, putting them up on YouTube, and if you're liking what you see, like it, comment, subscribe, because as we grow our following, that opens up more doors for us to then get on major networks.
So subscribe and follow is the same thing?
Yeah.
Let's say somebody really likes you.
Okay.
If they say, well, I really like that Rachel and I want her to succeed at what she's doing, this is what I can do. It would be to like make an email letter.
Oh my.
This is a little old-fashioned. Right?
Very.
In the email, say, this is a friend of mine, Rachel. She's wonderful, wonderful girl. Her dad's okay, but they're trying to do something really cool, and I want to help them. So please go to this link, and then have the link there.
The YouTube link
to the podcast. It's not a podcast. Is
it's
it a podcast?
A YouTube podcast.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm.
And then they could go to it and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be like if they really liked you.
That would be. And very time consuming.
I don't think I have any friends that would do that. I don't know. Maybe one of my employees if they were still on the clock and I was going to pay them.
Wow. You don't,
I don't know.
No. One thing with YouTube is you want to grow organically. You don't want followers that aren't going to watch your stuff because that could actually hurt you.
No fertilizer. Organically. No fertilizer.
Okay. So anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
The second part of my trip, we went to Louisiana, which Sam actually pointed out is right where Duck Dynasty are staying and live and have their tour. So we found a winery where they filmed an episode.
You don't drink. Did you start drinking on me, girl?
I did try wine while I was there.
I raised you better than that.
I did try wine while I was there. I don't drink, though.
Don't do drugs.
I don't do drugs.
Don't smoke.
Oh my goodness, I
don't drink coffee.
Oh, I do.
Oh.
I do drink coffee now.
Not that one, okay.
So anyway, this winery is where they have an episode where Willie buys the winery. And so they have an Airbnb, and so we stayed there. It was a 2-night minimum, so we stayed for 2 nights. And while we were there, we did the tour of the Duck Dynasty
the
warehouse, which was really cool. But there's another piece to this that I haven't told you.
Oh.
So before we left for this trip, I reached out to Duck Dynasty's booking agent, did a little research online, and found their phone number and email. Okay. So I contacted them and pretty much asked to pay them for an hour of their time so I could talk to them.
They didn't say yes.
I did hear from them. I did. And so they were really impressed with my email. They're like, wow, that sounds awesome. So here is Willie's personal assistant's email.
Oh, get out.
Right?
Wow, that's cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So I emailed the personal assistant. So he responded finally. And he did say, oh yes, I got your email. I was at a trade show. And let me go back and talk with the family and see if anybody's willing to meet with you.
What family?
The Robertson family.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was the end of that story.
Ah, poo.
We went and toured their warehouse.
Duck Dynasty Warehouse.
Dynasty's warehouse.
Yeah. Okay.
We were blown away with what they did. We were there for 2 hours.
Oh, get out.
And we had to leave without spending more time there because we had another tour to go to.
Okay.
So we could have been there longer than 2 hours.
Wow, get out.
It was so cool. And it was so informative. God knew, I didn't really need to sit with Duck Dynasty because I was gonna ask them all the questions that I had answered going through their tour.
Okay.
So that was really cool. I mean, now if I were to meet with them, I would have new questions because I got my first round of questions answered. So like some of my questions was like, how did you even start filming? Like when you had a duck call business, were you like a multimillionaire and you like paid a company to come in and do it, or what? They actually had one of the sons film, Jep.
Oh, wow.
Jep was their film guy. Filming this show was Phil's idea.
Oh, wow.
Which surprised me.
Yeah.
Phil was the spearhead for the whole thing. And one of the brothers said to his dad, nobody's gonna wanna watch your show. Like, nobody's gonna wanna watch this. Boy, was that brother wrong. It's amazing to see what they have done now since starting their filming. But it was interesting that they pretty much self-produced their DVDs. And then they did hire another editing person to help, and so they, had a little film crew, and but then they got hired with Hollywood, and they didn't film Duck Dynasty themselves. They had a film crew come and do that.
Wow. Now, before they became a big deal, Phil actually went to the church he used to attend, Berean Bible Church.
Yes.
I mean, before he started talking, they got a real loser to do the speak. It was
It was a wild game supper. So everybody comes that's interested in like hunting and fishing, and they eat all kinds of food like that is served. Like alligator, kangaroo, rabbit. Yeah. I mean, it's. Ugh.
And they get a different speaker each year, and you and I were both there then apparently when Phil
I was serving food to all of the guests. You must have been a guest.
And there were hundreds.
Oh yeah, it was a big. They still do the event today.
It's a big event.
Yeah.
But then he started going, and the more he was talking, he's like, "That's sort of cool. If he would clean himself up, it'd be even more cool." But now
it's part of.
It's part of who he is.
Yeah, it's cool.
It is cool
what they've done, and they finished. Highly respect this. They finished the tour with Phil presenting the gospel.
Oh, wow.
And like praying for the people that were going through.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
So how can we do that, with our lives? It's so cool.
People think that you got to be somebody really a superstar for God to use you. And Phil is the example that God wants to use anybody willing.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to be super smart. I mean, look at me. I didn't even graduate from high school. I was voted the least likely to succeed. So God looks at the heart.
Yeah.
He doesn't look at, your skill sets and all of that, If he wants to do the work through us.
Yeah.
And if we feel we have to do the work, then it's not him.
That's right.
He wants it to be him. He wants to be the one to do it. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
It was a really cool experience going through that. Oh, and then a little tidbit about the wine tour. I know you love talking about alcohol.
Jesus turned water into wine. If one more Christian tells me that.
Okay, so we're not getting into that, but we took a tour of the winery and the owner gave the tour. So he's talking all about how wine is made and how he got into the business, and I learned a lot of business stuff from him too. I was asking him, they do concerts, so I'm like, how do you charge for this? Like, how does this work? And so it was fun, it was cool, very informative and entertaining. But I actually had a point where Sam and I were the only ones with him on the tour, because he's like, oh, bathroom break, anyone? So everybody was gone and it was just us. And I was like, I have a question for you. I didn't want to ask with everybody else around, but we came here because Duck Dynasty was filmed here. And, that's how we found you. We don't even really drink alcohol. And we were laughing. We were like, But this was a cool tour. And he's like, oh, yeah, those Hollywood people. And then he kind of shared some details with me that were interesting and eye-opening. And it's just making me really think about, like, when we film a show, like, how do we do this the right way? Because he said the Hollywood people wanted to, they approached him. So coming into this, I thought that the owners of the winery, like, went to the same church as the Duck Dynasty crew. Like, they're both Christians, and like, I just thought that they like were really good friends or something like that, but that was not the case. They didn't even know each other. And the Hollywood people found the winery, went to meet with them, took them out to dinner, was trying to schmooze them over with all this stuff. And they were saying they want Willie to buy your winery, and he's gonna film an episode about buying a winery. And the owner, it's funny, his name's Jeff. Jeff was like, absolutely not. I worked my whole life to build this. They build a huge extension to their building. I mean, what they have there is so impressive. He's like, absolutely not. Like, this is my business. Yeah. So he then, after he kept saying no, and they just kept pushing. So he said, how about this? How about if Willie just makes the wine here? You know, it's like a side thing that he does. Like, that would be okay. So they gave a verbal agreement, which now we know, like, Willie bought a winery, is on TV, and he was upset. He was like, you know, they lied. They flat out lied to us. And he said that the Robertson family felt so bad for what happened. I don't know how much they knew.
The lie was that they said that Willie bought the winery, but Willie didn't buy it.
Well, that was the lie, but they lied to Jeff, the owner. So he said, I want you to change the storyline. And they agreed to changing the storyline, but then they really didn't change the storyline. They went with their original storyline. Which was Willie buying them. Okay. And he didn't want that because he's like, this is my pride and joy, which I totally get as a business owner. You don't want somebody to be filming something saying they bought your business. Right. So that was unfortunate to learn that. And again, like with the Hollywood thing, it's like, if we have our own film crew and we produce our own content, we have full control over what is being shared. And
we've talked with a couple production companies, and you know, they some of them just want stuff that's raunchy. Some they wanted us. The one wanted us to just argue all the time and fight and whatever, and it's like create drama that wasn't real. So we just aren't going to do that. That's not where our heart is. That's not what our interest is. Right. We want it to be funny. To me, funny is first. Yeah. Okay, but it needs to be done in a clean way. We don't want parents to ever have to be concerned about what their kids are going to see while they're watching it. Right. So there has to be humor. But then, you know, the other thing is it needs to be family oriented as far as what we do. It needs to be unique. But anyway. Yeah,
I learned a lot this trip.
Sounds like a fun trip.
It was. How was your week at home?
Oh, it was awesome. I got to spend 10 days with my 2 favorite grandsons.
That's not true.
Okay, I lied?
Yep, you did. They stayed with their other grandparents on the weekends.
Oh.
It was not 10 days.
No, it wasn't.
Probably felt like 10 days, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
You spent time with them while we were away.
Anyway.
It's okay.
So, we did a couple things. So, our driveway is a half-mile long from one end to the other. So we have to drive the kids to the bus stop when they stay with us. So the first morning, Silas, I said, would you like to drive Pop-Up's pickup truck to the bus stop? And he's, of course, you know. So I, of course, do the pedal and he does the steering. And then the next day, Tommy did it, and then Silas, and then Tommy, and so on.
Oh my!
And I noticed that when we're there, like they you know, being what, 5, Tommy's 5, and Silas is 8, so they're small and young, inexperienced at that. So they were, if they got off course, I say, go to the left a little bit, go left, and they neither of them knew. I was surprised, but.
That surprises me too.
So we're sitting there waiting for the bus, and there's something I have. It's called Pop-Up's Teachable Moment.
Oh wow, that's so difficult to remember.
There's something that's called Pop-Up's Teachable Moment. So I went to Tommy and said, now Tommy, the word left. What letter does the word left start with? And he said L. I said, take your finger and draw an L. So he went and made an L, like that. So I said, now, which hand has an L? And he pointed to this one. I said, see, L, that's your left hand. So now you know left. And when I said that, both of their faces, like a light bulb went on. You could tell that, this is something new and valuable. I'm glad I learned this. So throughout the week, when they were with us, I said, raise your left hand. And they would go like this, smile. Yeah, I know, my left hand now. Oh, and then Tommy was getting harder and harder to wake up in the morning for school. Yep. I mean, the first 2 days he woke up pretty well, but then the next time I had to call him twice. The next day I had to call him 3 times. So it was the last day that they were going to be with us. And I said, before they went to bed that night, I said, I'm sitting in the living room. I said, come over, guys, come here. And they came over and said, stand right there. And they did. I said, now listen.
Slow down.
If you go upstairs, brush your teeth, put your pajamas on, Nana will read you a story. Okay. Go to bed. In the morning, when I come in and wake you up, you have to get up right away. And if you do all those things, Pop-Up will take you for ice cream.
Oh.
And they lit up, and of course, when I wake them up in the morning, I would go in and sing to them, which we know I can't sing. That's painful. It's hard to sleep through me singing.
Yeah.
So I would sing to them, good morning to you, good morning to you, good morning, Silas and Thomas, good morning to you. So that last day, in the morning, they both immediately stood up and they just smiled from ear to ear.
Oh, funny.
And Tommy ran down, he got dressed quick, brushed his teeth, ran downstairs. He was eating breakfast already, and he said, we're not going to be able to go out for ice cream. I said, well, why not? He said, because Silas isn't down here yet. So I said, it's all good. We're going out for ice cream. So that worked. That worked.
That's good.
That was fun. We had a lot of good times.
So this week, while I was away, was the beginning of Spirit Week.
Yeah.
And like one day was Twin Day.
Yeah.
You got them ready that day. How did it go?
Well, Silas has been sick. He's been under the weather. And well, that was Monday. Thomas and Silas both stayed home.
Yeah, they missed school Monday. So Tuesday was.
So Tuesday was Twin Day. Tuesday, Twin Day.
Yeah.
So I said, Tommy, come on, get up, it's Twin Day. And Silas said, he doesn't have a twin. He didn't go to school yesterday to get a twin to be paired up with somebody. He doesn't have a twin. I said, your mom took care of it. He has a twin.
Yeah.
And Tommy looks at me and he said, I do? Who's my twin?
Oh.
What's his name?
I forget.
I forget too.
I texted it to you, but I don't remember all the names.
I told him who his twin was, and he said, really? That's my best friend.
Oh.
It was so cute. So, and I said, so this is the shirt he's going to wear. Oh, that's my favorite shirt.
His favorite.
I said, now you have to wear blue jeans. Do you have any jeans? I don't know if I have any or not. And he's looking through his, I found the pair. Come to run over and hold him. I found my pair. I found my blue jeans.
Oh.
So it was cool.
I'm so
that
glad.
Was fun. He had so much fun.
Oh, good. So anything exciting with the businesses while I was gone? I mean, like you ran the show. Did everything just come to a halt while I was gone, or what?
No, we're always doing something.
Always.
So at the ranch, boy, I don't remember everything we did. We filled in potholes at all three properties.
That's very important. Our potholes were bad.
It's about, you put all the driveways together, it's almost a mile.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's a lot of driveways. So
it is.
Jacob was working on that. And he told me, like, I wouldn't let him drive the skid loader.
Oh.
Because he's only 18.
Yeah, and that's a very expensive equipment.
Yeah. Well, that was almost what I paid for my first house, I think. So, and also liability and stuff. And you know, he's a teenager, and I said, no, you got to be at least 21 to drive the tractors and the big equipment.
Yeah.
So he said to me one day, he said, you know, I know how to drive that, right? And I said, no, I didn't know that. His dad is who I bought the equipment from.
Oh.
That's how I ended up hiring him, just talking to his dad. So he said, well, my dad, he would bring that equipment home all the time and let me play with it and stuff. And he said he also worked for his brother who owns a landscaping business, and he ran his skid loader. So he knew exactly how all the operations work, the controls and stuff work.
Look at that.
So I said, all right, I'll let you do that to fill the potholes. So he did, and then he did good. And I said, okay, there's another job. So he did that. So now he knows how to use the skid loader. So he doesn't know this yet, but I might have him put the auger attachment on.
And do the whole fence himself.
Do the whole fences. Right now, he's doing the entire new fence by himself.
At the horse ranch, which is a lot of fencing.
Yeah, I drill the holes with a skid loader and the auger, but he then sets each post, pulls the rails, drills and gets ready for the to electrify it, and puts the caps on the post. He does it all. So now he actually could do the whole thing. I didn't tell him that I'm going to let him do that yet. We'll see.
But you need to help him.
So I had got a quote from a company to install the whole fence, and it was going to cost $41,000.
That was the second quote. Do you remember what the first quote was?
Well, the first one was nuts. I don't remember what it was, a couple $100,000 or something.
It was around $100,000.
Yeah,
to install a fence we already purchased.
Yeah, we had the fence. It just needed to be installed. So, but he's going to be doing it in about. If he worked nonstop just on the fence, he will be able to do it in about 4 months. So that's 1/3 of what we would have paid. So rather than $40,000, it's $13,000.
Yeah, it's a good move.
So he saved us a lot of money.
He did.
Don't tell him that, because then he's going to want to get paid more.
Good thing he doesn't really do social media. He won't be watching this.
That's right, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. He's great. He reminds me of a Duck Dynasty guy, which he loves Duck Dynasty. He's like a super fan, which he like geeked out when I told him I was going. So that was funny.
He is a rugged individual. He's into the outdoors and
which is
working
what we
and-
need.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
For real. I think we've talked enough.
I think so.
That's been a long podcast.
This is a long one.
Thank you for watching. We
Thank you for
appreciate your
watching.
support.
Yes.
And
Follow,
hopefully
like,
we have some
Share.
more details to come.
All right. I know we do.
Well, next week, you're in for a treat. You're going to see the before and after staging of our Airbnb.
There you go. See you next week.
See ya.